Hello, I'm Matt Lees, and I deeply regret shaving yesterday, but to make myself feel slightly better about that, I've put on a lovely jacket. Anyway, today on the opener we have for you a game called Cash and Guns. A game which is absolutely nothing like this. Cash and Guns is a fun reminder of the importance of a good prop, and that doesn't necessarily even mean a prop that looks realistic. These foam guns don't look terribly realistic. In fact, they're clearly not. They're clearly not real guns. I'm just going to throw that one out there. However, they feel enough like guns to be a good prop. To be honest, there's only two things you really need to know about Cash and Guns. The first thing is that one, it's got foam guns in it that you get to hold and point at each other. And two, it's so easy that you don't even really need these rules. I mean, it's just 2 pages. And there's some extra rules on the back for if you want to play with the special roll cards that give you abilities, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because it just doesn't really make the game better. It just makes it more complicated. I think they're a bit rubbish, if I'm being honest. So I've got my gun pointed at him, he's got his gun pointed at a guy over there, and the guy over there's got a gun pointed at me, or any combination of those scenarios. But the question is, and this is the important question, who's actually got a bullet in the gun? Because that's where these cards come into play. You get 8 at the start of the game, which represents the clip in your gun. You have 5 clicks and only 3 bangs. And that's pretty much Cash and Guns. It's a bluffing game. Have you actually got a bullet this time? Are you actually going to shoot me? Or is it just another click? Is everybody pointing a gun at each other around the table without any bullets? It's entirely possible. But are you going to take that risk? Thing is, these clicks and bangs are basically your hand for the entire game. And once you run out of bangs, unless you find another clip in the loot pile at some point, that's you out of bangs, which is probably fine providing no one else knows that all you've got are clicks. It's basically like a little mini version of Skulls and Roses going on within the whole pistol pointing game. If you haven't got any teeth, people might notice that, at which point you're not a lot of use. So once everybody's pointing a gun at each other's face, you can choose to tap out. You can choose just after 3, 2, 1, no, I'm putting my gun on the table. I don't want to get shot. I've got people pointing guns at me. But of course, doing that or getting shot both count as being knocked out of that round, and that means no loot. The loot in Cash and Guns adds the basic strategic level to the game, and you get to take it in turns going round the table picking the loot that you want. But the thing here is there's no limit to how much loot you can actually get, which means if you're the last person standing, you're the only person standing, you get to take all of the loot on the table, which is quite a lot of money. The person with the most money at the end of the game wins, and that's pretty much it. But there are some slight details that spice it up a bit. You have stuff like diamonds, not worth much on their own, but if you collect enough diamonds, then you win the big diamond. You get the big $60,000 diamond, but only if you got the most diamonds. It's not as easy as it sounds. And you've also got paintings, which aren't worth much on their own, but if you collect a painting collection, you'll be laughing in the money. At this stage, I can only apologise for the fact that I don't have any footage of me playing this game with people. So you're gonna have to use your imagination and look at these photographs and just try and imagine how much fun it must be to watch these people moving like humans. But the last rule here that ties everything together is the Godfather. And if you're the Godfather, you get 2 big advantages. First of all, you are first to the loot, which means you get to take first pick of the stuff, providing you're still alive at the end of the round, which you might not be because people don't like the Godfather. Because the second thing that the Godfather can do is at the end of each round, once everybody's pointing a gun at each other, you can tell one person who's pointing a gun at you, you can just turn to them and say, can you not point that at me? And they'll have to point it somewhere else. It's a simple ability, but one that when you are the Godfather imbues you with a wonderful sense of power that will basically result in everybody on the table turning around and pointing their gun at you. Because these stupid foam guns are basically just a very simple mechanic for setting up some old school risk and reward. Something that everybody kind of knows about. I want the duffel bag. I want all of the things in the duffel bag. Yes, I want the money. I want all of the things. Give me the duffel bag. There's a lot of money on the table. There's a lot of money on the table. But I might get shot. Is it worth the risk? A round of cash and guns is super simple. Everybody goes 3, 2, 1, then points their gun at somebody else. And then you look around the table and you go, who is pointing a gun at me? How many people are pointing guns at me? And then you decide whether or not you want to go through with it. Do I want to keep doing this and get some of that money maybe? Or am I going to get shot and not get any of the money? It's up to you. It's up to you. Because after that first call of 3, 2, 1, there's another call. 3, 2, 1. At that point, 3, 2, 1, you either put your gun on the table, knock your character down and say, I'm out for this round, which means you don't get shot, but it also means you don't shoot at anybody, and it also means you don't get any loot. But if you stick with it and you're ready and you think, I can handle this, you shout 3, 2, 1, banzai! Don't know why it's banzai, it's just what it says in the manual. Frankly, you could shout whatever you want. Potatoes! Potatoes! I don't know, use your imagination. And then you see what happens. Anybody still in the round goes around the table, flips over their little card, and you see click, 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 bang. Who knows? Maybe you're going to get away with it. Maybe you really will get all of that money. Or maybe you'll get shot. The final thing, of course, that you have to bear in mind is that you've only got 3 lives, just like in real life. If you get shot 3 times, you're out of the game. I'm not a fan of knockout games because they knock people out of games, which is not usually a socially conducive thing to do. But in Cash and Guns, to be honest, it runs very quickly and it's pretty rare that people do get knocked out. And also, it's kind of your fault because at any stage, when everyone shouts banzai, you can just put your gun down. But one of the things I do like about this version, because this is the second version of the game, is they have changed the art style. They've made the art style a little bit more silly. First edition of the game had a kind of much more teen-oriented style, which was very much like cool comic books, which is fine. A lot of people really dug that. But personally, I kind of felt like it was trying to make the idea of guns a bit too cool, whereas this kind of more focuses on the silly, old-school gangster style thing. I'm more down with that, and I think it's more appealing and more inviting for a wider group of people, which is, you know, what the Open is all about. So actually, it's a fair thing to talk about. And having said that, I don't even really like the art style. I think it's all right. Apart from Pedro, I think Pedro is amazing. I love you, Pedro, and if it's quite all right. So yeah, that's Cash and Guns. It's basically a simple bluffing game with basic strategies and different people going for different... It's good. It's really good. It's very simple. You don't need the manual. It's a lot of fun, and the appeal of holding a stupid foam gun and pointing it at a friend is not to be sniffed at. It's just a shame that there isn't any variant that involves you holding 2 guns, because you get 8 of them in a box. Have you ever seen 8 guns? It's loads. Cash and Guns is a game that takes a couple of minutes to explain, and it is immediate, riotous amounts of fun. And you know what? It's got all these guns in it, but it's not a violent game. There's no real sense of it being that aggressive. It's just a really, really fun way of playing on those classic gangster movie tropes. You looking at me? Do you feel lucky, punk? Are you feeling like a lucky? Do you feel lucky to me, punk? Yeah, I love those films. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that you should play it. So despite looking like the most crass thing I'd ever seen, Cash and Guns is in fact just huge amounts of simple, silly fun. It's a great party game and it's a very good opener. The idea that you can play this simple bluffing game but also have simple agendas to go for. I'm going to try and get all the diamonds, try and get the paintings, try and remember who's going for the diamonds, try and remember who's going for the paintings. It's fun. There's enough going on to keep you entertained, and the core of it, pointing foam guns at each other, is just a ton of fun. But anyway, forget about that. Let's get extravagant with an Italian recipe. Oh God, I'm falling.
It's a bangers and a mash, just like the mother used to make. Of course, sausage and mash was in fact invented by Guy Ritchie on the set of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. But what is mash without good onion gravy? Good gravy, no more. Yeah, you'll need lots of onions, about this many. Put them in the freezer first though for about 10 minutes. People will think you're mad, but it will make you cry less. Chop them up by hand if you have to, unless you're a middle-class muppet like me, in which case you've probably got a food processor. Onions. Put your approximately 5 lots of onions into a pan with about 25 grams of butter. Then on a medium-ish flame, just keep them moving around, keep them softening up for about 15-20 minutes until they look lovely and golden. And while this is happening, you'll want to be peeling and cutting up some potatoes. I'm not going to show you how to do that because, good lord, come on. Pop your potatoes into a big salty pan and get them boiling for about 25 minutes. Meanwhile, in onion land, yeah, you want to put all your onions in a bowl to one side. If you're only making this for about 2 or 3 people, you won't even need all these onions, so you can put them in the freezer and use them again. Next up, sausages. Make the sausages in a pan, do what sausages in a pan do, and then add the onions. And with that, you'll want about 300 mils of stock, your choice, beef or veg, whatever. Some corn flour, just to thicken it up a little bit, and if you've got some, a nice sprig of thyme. Let that simmer away and thicken really nicely, and then add a splash of Lea Perrins. And at this point, providing you've timed it right, the potatoes will be done. Hooray! If you're feeling adventurous, you can mash in whole grain mustard or whatever you like, but to be honest, the basics are always good. A little bit of butter, some black pepper, and some warm milk. Why warm the milk before you mix it into the mash? I've got no idea, but my mum says to do it, and she really knows what she's talking about. Bangers and mash. Look, that gravy's really thick. Oh, if it's too thick, add some more stock. If it's not thick enough, add a tiny bit more corn flour, but don't overdo it. And that's it. Bangers and mash with beautiful onion gravy. And there's no outro to this video because I forgot to film it. Goodbye!